Gudia told Dante that it's a trivial thing to become prideful in one's noble blood. However, there must be a distinction made between someone having spiritual nobility, which is on display by Gudia and his comments, and someone having pride in the temporal nobility, which often leads people astray. According to Lucan, the first time the honorific salutation of Lud was given, it was granted to. However, there is evidence that it was first used after AD 200. As Beatrice stood nearby and smiled, Dante addressed his great-great-grandfather with the same honorific. Continuing, the great Florentine poet claimed that his great-great-grandfather had emboldened him to speak with jubilation in his soul. Dante, though, wanted to know more about the 10th century Florence, and in response, Gudia illumination was increased. Speaking in vulgar Latin, the elder Florentine delivered a long speech, now an error of church tradition versus biblical history. According to a tradition established by Pope Julius I, Christ was born on December 25th, AD 1. The monk Dionysius Exiguus claimed that if he was born on December 25th, then the Annunciation, or when Mary was told she would conceive, occurred on December 25th. This presumption contradicts both scriptural and the mythological and agricultural truth of Bethlehem in the 1st century, much less even the 21st century. According to Holy Scripture, Levitical shepherds were in the healing of the birth of Christ. In October, a frost develops on the ground near Bethlehem, which lasts until March. As sheep do not graze in frosty fields, they were brought into shelters during the winter months. Therefore, Christ had to be born between March and October. When European Jewish scholars have gathered substantial evidence to suggest he was born in September AD 1. Ironically, if this is true, it would have meant that the Immaculate Conception would have occurred in December. If we look at the sidereal orbit of Mars, we find that it lasts for 687 Earth days. Gudia says that Mars had returned to the constellation of Leo 580 times since the Annunciation, which means 1,091 years per the sidereal orbit. This time, though, refers to the 1,091 years between the traditional date, 25th AD 1 for the Annunciation, and the birth of Gudia. His family lived in the fourth and final ward of the 10th century Florence. The Florentine population of his day, consisting of pure Florentine bloodlines, was a fifth of Gudia rebuked how the Florence of Dante's time had increased to 6 wards. They also allowed people from nearby towns to marry Florentine, and this not only corrupted the bloodlines, but also quintupled the population. The Crusader proposed that if Holy Roman Emperor Henry IV had been respected by the clergy, the wars occurring between the Italian city-states would have been non-existent. The country of Guidi would still be in Montemerlo. The Cerci would still be an economy in the Budalamenti was Vada Galaxy. Additionally, Lippo Velotti and his family would still be in Semafonte. Though people die sooner than towns, towns still die and fade away. Due to the intermission of cities, the ancient cities of Luni and Urgaslia have become abandoned, while Sinagaglia and Tuxi were both dwindling in their populations. For Florence, its fortune would soon change, just as the tides changed with the moon's phases. The fading fate, the families of Kakeguda's son, the Ugi, the Kalini, the Gersi, the Philippi, the Aurici, and Armani. Other families that he knew were the Aka, the Simonella, the Solidarity, the Ardegani, and Bosetici. He also knew the Radagani and Porta San Pietro, whose descendants became the Cantigudie and the Delicana Berti. Likewise, there were other noble families. These families largely brought peace and prosperity. Sadly, though, all these noble families had wretched descendants that preyed upon the populace. Moreover, the political turmoil resulted in death, not just civil division. When de Buonadelmonte broke his betrothal with a maiden of the Amidi family in favor of marrying a maiden of the Zanati family, men of the Amandi family ambushed and murdered him on Easter Sunday in 12. The Adamati were scoundrels who practiced sodomy and oppressed the poor and exiles. They were such scoundrels that Orvinto Dante, who was married to the daughter of Belcon Berti, refused to allow his daughter to marry into the As a reminder, there had been a mass migration of Florence. The Capascocci, a family from Fosoli, had those who fought under Hugh of Brandenburg, who served Otto III, Margrave of Brandenburg, enjoyed elaborate vestments and great privileges. The Galacticuni were families who exuded peace in their neighborhoods until they were uprooted by outsiders. Such gives a view of the miserable descension of